Yeah, that's right. I see the chat. I see y'all rocking. I see y'all coming. Hit that like button as you enter the building. You know what I'm saying? Hit that like button. Show your love. Show your support. You know what I'm saying? This that dope soul. This that new thing. Nobody don't know about it.
Salute, Nick family. Welcome to the recap show. I'm your host, Queen Stephanie, aka Queen, joined by Jeff Clafter of the Happily Ever Clafter Daily Sports Blog. The Knicks did what I wanted them to do, and I think we all wanted them to do, get at least one in these two home games. I thought the fourth game was more probable than the third. Doesn't matter. They went out and just took care of business, just stayed in the game. And when you needed the performances the most in that second half, particularly in that fourth quarter, you got it. A complete game, multiple contributors. Jeff, how are you?
Just divine. Let me just tell you, there is nothing I enjoy more than beating the Boston Celtics. And
Facts.
after the way they stomped us in Game 3, and folks like David Portnoy were running their mouths, maybe that'll quiet them down a little bit. Job's not finished, but 75% complete. Let's get there. Let's get the last one, but let's focus on what we did last night, and that was a lot. Where do you want to start?
Oh, well, if you're leaving it up to me, I'm starting with Mikal Bridges. I'll leave Brunson to you. Mikal Bridges was phenomenal last night. He played 44 minutes, 23.7 rebounds, 3 assists, 4 steals, 1 block, team high plus 13. Led us in scoring in the fourth quarter with 10, and that doesn't even tell the entire story. Because it's one thing to score, but for me, particularly in playoff games, when you score, every point is needed, don't get me wrong. But those timely shots and coming up big and when the light's the brightest and when you're trying to close it out, to be able to get buckets at that point in the game says a lot. And that's been Mikal Bridges for us throughout this series, and particularly for last night. This guy and the entire Knick team has been locked in. The 2 defensive plays, the first 2 games to close out the game, last night to close out the game. I think we could just put it to rest about Mikal Bridges. I think his poor performance over the season has been overstated anyway. I mean, yes, he was up and down. He wasn't, great, but I don't know if he could have ever lived up to the expectations of us. If you're talking about 5 first round pick, like how do you live up to that if you're not Luka, right? But what he's done for us, I think, is what the Knicks imagined. What him and OG is doing right now is what the Knicks imagined when they got them. And Bridges did not disappoint last night. And I think this is just a glimpse of what he can be on a night in and night out basis. Like I've been really high on this guy, his skill set, his two-way ability. Plus we've seen it. A lot of times you'll be like, oh, this guy has a high ceiling. You don't see it. But I've seen him defensively in Phoenix, right? I've seen him as the first option in Brooklyn. And yeah, that he's not, or at least up the year and a half he was there, you could say that he's probably not a 1, but a 2, a 3. Come on, family. So I'm super happy about having Mikal Bridges on this team, and he was money. He was money last night. I don't know if I left any meat on the bone for you, Jeff, but just your thoughts.
Well, I'm going to go back to 2 years ago in the playoff series against Miami, and Jaylen Brunson was doing it all by himself. Facts. And you couldn't take him out of the game for a second without the Knicks falling to pieces, like literally, it felt like. And here we have a guy who, he's played within himself. He's played his role. He has these capabilities, but he hasn't necessarily, he hasn't demanded the ball or anything like that. But then you come to crunch time in all of these games. He's had bad first halves most of the series. most of the playoffs, in fact. But when it comes to winning time, this guy's on point, man. And he gets to that fourth quarter, and he's the easy chair, lazy boy, fadeaway that we were talking about. That's incredible. And it's an unblockable shot. He can get to it every time he wants to, anytime he wants to, off the dribble. It creates instant offense. And that's something that every playoff team needs, because when you're playing a team like the Celtics that is so fantastic defensively, you have to be able to make difficult shots. And he does. And timely difficult shots. And he was just superb, like every time. And it got to the point in the fourth quarter where I think everyone was like, oh, Mikal's got it. That's 2 points. That's 2 points. Like it was, right. He was that on target, that locked in, that on point, to say nothing of his defense and everything else, which was equally phenomenal. I mean, kudos, hats off to him, and nobody deserves it more than him, because he's gotten, he's gotten a lion's share of criticism throughout the year. So I'm just glad to see him be able to rise up and be able to perform incredibly under the brightest of lights.
On both ends of the floor. I mean, it's one thing to play a lot of minutes. It's another thing to be effective in all of them. Like, he plays every game. I don't know if he's been under 40 minutes in this playoffs, including the Detroit series. He might have been. He played 44 minutes last night, and he was effective. Right? He was effective in every minute, in every minute that he played. I think he hit a shot on one end and was down on the other end, challenging Porzingis, and Porzingis missed. You know what I mean? So his ability to switch ends, like to score, or how many times we've seen him take a bad shot on one end, hustle down and get the block on another end, or get a key rebound, or hit a shot and hustle down and make a play on the other end. He's an elite conditioned athlete. He's not the only one, but he's just been incredible. Shout out to the chat, by the way. I'm going to read the super chat, and then we'll turn it over to you in terms of who stood out. You know how we do it, just going back and forth. Jersey Rick, appreciate you. Good morning, Queen and Jeff. In the Detroit series, I thought we were going to lose, but glad I'm wrong. Go Knicks. Yeah, I had Boston in 6. And I was wrong. Yeah, now we still we still have to close it out, right? But the Knicks have been amazing, and I'm happy I was wrong, actually. Jeff, who and what stood out for you? Who's next?
Well, that third quarter by Jaylen Brunson, absolute masterclass to take us from down 11 to right back in the game. What do you have, 18 points in the third or something like that?
18 in the third.
And just electric, but more so than that, his process last night, which we've both been highly critical of. I think he had like 12 assists and 1 turnover last night.
Yeah.
That's elite Jaylen Brunson. I mean, that's everything you ask for the captain. And he went shot for shot with Tatum last night. Like, Tatum, and I hate to see anybody get hurt. I don't want that to be the reason that we won the series, but that's not the reason we won last night. We were up by 9 and that's unfortunate. I don't wish it on anybody. My prayers to the Celtic fans and to Tatum. Looks like an Achilles or injury to me. I'm not a doctor,
Right.
But like, when they just get sniped on non-contact like that, it just, and that's devastating for him, because he had his best playoff performance. Like, he stepped up in a big way. But now I'm going to get back to talking about our guy, and Brunson matched him shot for shot. It was just as big. It was just as clutch. And he did it against probably the best defensive backcourt in the NBA. When you're talking about Derek White and Drew Holiday, they had no answers for him. He got to his spots. He had it working. He was sharp. And it came after a game where I was highly critical of him, because he had 27, I think, in the previous game, but it was an inefficient 27. It was,
Right.
it wasn't making the offense run. Like, he was stirring the drink in that second half, and we were an unstoppable force with him on the floor. He was just,
Absolutely.
as if Bridges is 1A, then Brunson is 1B, right? They're right there together,
Right there. Yep.
and just, enjoy it, Knicks fans. We've waited so long for a player of this caliber, and I'm not sure we've had a player this good. With all respect to Patrick Ewing, that's my guy. Love 33, will always love 33. But I don't think I've ever seen a guy who rises up in the big moments quite like Brunson.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And just exquisite. I mean, just phenomenal effort, incredible shot making, and he even had the little roll on the 3-pointer, which kind of was the dagger that put it away. That was just insane. That put the lead to 12, and it was just a phenomenal night by him. But I also like what he had to say after. Look, this is not finished. They understand that. Look,
Right.
It's not the first to 3 wins. It's the first to 4. So I think that as your leader, as your captain, when he has that attitude, hopefully it filters down to the rest of this veteran team. But you can't, like, people. Simmons in particular said he's never going to be the 38-point in the playoff game guy. Well, he was right, because he's a 39-point in the big playoffs. So he should have had 40. He missed that free shot, or he would have.
Right.
But I'm not gonna sweat that. Best player in the series still.
Yeah. I mean, where do I start? I, for one, didn't think Brunson was in this series as aggressive as I know him to be. I felt like he left a lot of points on the table. But the second half, that was the Brunson that I know. Now, I don't know if there's some lingering injury stuff, like I said, where he's picking his spots, but he picked a good one last night. That third and fourth quarter was one for the ages. And he made Drew Holiday and Derek White look pedestrian on the defensive end. I mean, like, that's how good he was. And like you said, his process was good. He was measured. Sometimes, he's pounding the ball, he's going 1-on-5. Like, it was right. Like, last night, his takeover was just right. It was at the right moment. He was taking the right shots, and the good ones seize the moments. They seize the moment, and that was Jaylen Brunson last night. I really don't have anything else to add. That fourth quarter lineup, we'll get into that, but he played the least minutes of that fourth quarter lineup. It was probably the most impactful, or him and Bridges in his 8.5 minutes that he played in the fourth quarter. Just a phenomenal game by him. I mean, I don't know what else to say.
It's without words, right? That's the incredible, and it's not the first time he's done it. It's like, he did 39 and 12. That's what he do.
Yeah.
And I'm
26 in the second half. 26 in the second half. Yeah. Where do you want to go next?
OG Anunoby. I thought OG was fabulous after a 2-point clunker in game 3, where he was literally invisible in game 3.
Yeah.
And here the guy, I think he was 4 of 8 from 3-point land, is at 20 points, and the defensive intensity was there. I'm with JJ that when he's grabbing that hamstring, it was a little bit concerning. He swears he's okay, but we need him, so we can't. We're not gonna get where we want to be if we don't have him. So hopefully that's true that he's okay. But just, after not being very good in game 3, just bouncing back, stepping up, taking care of business, making shots when he was open. And then the 1-3 in the fourth quarter, he sat there, he drank a cup of coffee, and then he sat, and I was like, there's no way he's going to make it. He's taking way too long on this shot. And then bang, he knocks it down. And at that point, I thought we were winning the game. And I never think we're winning the game. So
9 points in that fourth quarter.
Yeah. Again, but the Knicks got everything they wanted. They absolutely eviscerated Boston in the fourth quarter. They got their shots. They got whatever they wanted. And a lot of it, I think, was a function of the two big lineup. I thought Robinson and Towns were excellent together. Robinson, I think, had 5 offensive rebounds. We didn't see a Hakamich for whatever reason. I don't know if it's that, probably because the refs didn't want to call any fouls on Boston. That's the only thing I can guess, because they sure weren't doing it the rest of the night. I think you spoke well about the officiating in this game. I mean, but look, the Knicks are overcomers. And last night they overcame, and that's been the story of this series. The Knicks' ability to overcome. They haven't been perfect. I don't even think they played a perfect game last night, to be honest with you. Now the 2-point shooting was much better. We didn't have a great night from 3, but we weren't lousy either. But I don't think that this team has hit its full stride and its full potential yet. So and I think Anunoby and Bridges wing stop, this is what we imagined when we brought those two together like this. And for this series, everything that the Knicks did in the offseason was in preparation to knock off Boston because they're the champs. And here we are. I mean, that and credit to Leon Rose, when that's your vision and you're executing that vision when it counts, especially after it looked like we weren't even we didn't belong in the same arena as them for the first 3 games of the regular season. But then Mitchell Robinson changes that equation completely. For whatever reason, he's not the best player on the floor, but for some reason, he is the missing ingredient that turns this team against Boston. I'm not saying in every series, but against Boston, he has been the missing ingredient that just makes this team able to compete on another level.
Yeah, because he gives us rotational versatility. The starting lineup, in the regular season wasn't a really good defensive lineup. And from what I understand, I haven't did the research myself. They haven't been the best lineup in this series. The starters haven't been the best lineup in this series. And to be able to take a Towns out and go with Mitch, play them together if you want, but also to take Towns out and play with Mitch, to be able to go to a defensive lineup like we did in that fourth quarter. Brunson was in there surrounded by Miles McBride, OG Anunoby, Bridges, and Mitchell Robinson. Right? Bridges played the entire fourth quarter. Mitch played, I think, 10 and a half minutes in that fourth quarter. I think he played 26 minutes for the game, but 10 and a half of them was in the fourth quarter. McBride played 20 minutes, 9 and a half of them were in the fourth quarter. To be able to have that type of versatility, that's what Mitch brings. And then the specifics, not just, his defense, but the specifics, the pick and roll defense, the rim protection, the intimidation, the length, the offensive rebounds, giving us second chance opportunities. I think he had 5 offensive rebounds. I think he had 4 on one play. It seemed like I think it was the first quarter, he had 4, in the first quarter. And shout out to JJ, because I agree with him. I didn't think this was the series for Mitch, but he proved me wrong. Props to him. I didn't think so either. And it could be because he slimmed down some, but his ability to defend in space is so much better. To be and give Towns credit too. his ability to kind of switch out and be on an island and move his feet has really helped, on the defensive end, in addition to the pick and roll defense and the other things that he does. He has been phenomenal. And I'm always the one, I think I'm being fair, maybe not, that will give him props for the defense, but we'll talk about the free throw shooting and how you can't keep him in the game, and talk about, on the offensive end. And those things still hold true. However, I don't know if this is the first time, but for me, it's the first time where I felt like what he's given on the defensive end, because I've always said that, like, if you're going to be one dimensional, be elite on the other. And I say that about Cat too. Cat is one dimensional, but he's elite offensively. And in my opinion, in this series, Mitchell Robinson has been elite defensively. And the numbers show it, and offsetting the foul shooting offense stuff. He's been elite. He's been amazing for the Knicks. So I'm with you. I didn't think this was a Mitch series. I thought it would be more of a Precious Achua series. But Mitchell Robinson has been on point. Kudos to him. And we could talk about Brunson, and we could talk about OG, and we could talk about Mikal Bridges, and all of it is true. But you got to put Mitch in there too. He's been just as big of a reason for where we are right now than everyone else. Than everyone else. So shout out to him.
And the alley-oop from Towns.
Yes, shades of more to come, right?
I don't know about that, but I think it was just kind of like a one-off. But it was sure nice to see. It was a good finish too, actually, because it wasn't the best pass from Towns. So it was actually and Mitch has been Nerlens Noel hands for most of the season. So it was good to see him actually catch and finish strong. That was great from both of them. And I guess that's a natural segue, because we haven't talked about Towns yet, but he was locked in last night. He was locked in last night in his bag. I think he missed like 2 shots, it felt like, the whole night. I mean, just
11 for 15 from the field, 23 points, 11 rebounds. And kudos for getting those rebounds up. We needed that. But go ahead.
Well, the Knicks out rebounded Boston, and that was one of the huge keys to that game, because and it was one of those things where Boston made 9 of their first 14 threes. Mm-hmm. And so that was, that's massive. Like, and I think they were at 50% from there at the half, but at the end, I think they made only 9 of their last 34. So, overall, it's not a bad percentage, but it's one of those things where we kind of settled down. They cooled off a little bit, and we kept ourselves in the game so that when they quit hitting shots, then we started hitting shots. And that fourth quarter was absolutely an onslaught of offensive perfection. I don't know how. I don't think a team can play much better than that offensively against an elite defense like Boston's. I mean, they were phenomenal. High shot making percentages, but because they were getting great shots and they were getting to their spots, instead of letting Boston dictate what they were doing, they were dictating all the action to Boston. And most of that credit goes to the guys we've already talked about, in Brunson and Bridges. I mean, they both were just lights out. And when they're lights out, we saw in the beginning of the season, when this team is clicking on offense, there's not really any answers for them. We haven't seen much of that in the postseason at all. In fact, I think you can argue, outside of the 21-0 run and the 21-2 run in the Detroit series, and then the runs in game 1 and game 2, those are the only spurts we've really seen this. I mean, we've struggled mightily to get points. And I mean, we had 2 games where we didn't get to 95. Like offense has been at a premium. And then last night we're just like, okay, we're just going to blow the roof off this joint. We're tired of this. And, 121 is, if the Knicks score 121, we're probably going to win.
Yeah. Yeah. And I still don't think we've maximized our offense. It was
Agreed.
good enough. It was good enough last night. I still don't think we've maximized it. As far as Towns is concerned, I think he's phenomenal. Like to me, he's becoming a little Josh Hardish in the sense that one or two knucklehead plays per game, but overall, I thought Towns was phenomenal, taking advantage of his um, um, of his matchup. You know, the commentators were like, "Oh, Jason Tatum." Shout out to him. Phenomenal game.
As
Um,
good as you'll see. Best I've ever
as
seen him play.
good, yeah. Is hunting Towns and Brunson. I'm like, okay, he's hunting them to take a 35-footer. Like to me, that's not. You can get that shot on anybody. But anyway, I'm not gonna divulge it. I'm not gonna go on a
No, he
tangent
he
about the
was a
commentator.
difficult shot maker last night. That was not like there have been times this year where the Knicks have just like ignored him and just
Right.
let him go off. That was not last night. Even in the first half, like we went up one when Robinson dunked the ball, and then Boston hit 5 really tough jumpers in a row, and it went from a 1-point lead to a 10-point deficit in the blink of an eye. And it was just, but it was great shot making. It wasn't,
Right.
oh, there were missing rotations where this
Right,
like
right.
right up in his face, like you can't guard him any better. And he's like 30 feet out. And it's like, okay, well, how do you like?
Yeah, you don't have to hunt anybody for those shots. You could just
Yeah.
pull. You can just pull. You're gonna get those shots. But I'm not taking anything away from Tatum. Like it was one for the ages as well. And you're right. I mean, I've seen him in closeout games have like 50 points, but this one, maybe because I was so locked in because it was us, I was able to see it like really up close and personal. It was one for the ages, and I actually hope he's back. For Game 5, it doesn't look like it. But I will say this, and I want to try to, I feel for him, as a person, just as a competitor. You don't want to see anybody go down, and I know this has to be tough for him. And I'm just talking about Boston as a whole, the team. At the same time, nobody cried for us last year when we were without OG and we were without Randall. And well, OG played some, but then he went down. It was like every game we was losing. We was losing somebody, and that's just part of it. Injuries are just part of it. It was unfortunate, but it's up to the Knicks to take full advantage going forward. You know, yeah. So, but back to Towns. Coming in, I said, listen, we need more than Brunson. Like we have 4 20-point scorers. We had contributions all around. That's what we needed last night, and we got it. Um, anything else? Anywhere else you want to go?
Yeah, just one other place I want to go, and you touched on him briefly, but Deuce McBride. And shout out to Wiz. I know it's too early. He's in California, so he's still in the bed, but he'll watch it on the replay, gang. Make sure you give us that like. This is your Deuce Love segment, bro. But just during that stretch, we had Deuce and Mitch on the floor, and we were just like locked in. Like it was, I mean, Josh Hart only played 30 minutes last night, and which is great because he was good in the minutes that he was out there. But I mean, I don't know if he was that good in the minutes he was out there. To be honest.
I don't
Everybody
think he
else
was.
stepped up. I don't think he was that great. But
The foul trouble may have threw him off
but
a bit, but
to
he wasn't
Tim
great.
saying, I'm rocking. You gave the stats like he played like 9 minutes of and the ovation the Garden crowd gave those two when they went out with a minute and a half or 2 minutes to go. I mean, just absolutely insane, and what we've needed from McBride. And this is a much better matchup for him. I think when he sees Peyton Pritchard, I think that's kind of someone who's more in his alley, more his speed, and he made a big difference last night. I thought he was on the court. Like his stat sheet's not going to blow you away, but he was on the floor when we started to make some space in that fourth quarter, and the defense was phenomenal, and the shot making was even better. And so, and he did have that one huge three where early on in the game, Mitch pulled down the offensive rebound and kicked it out to, I think it was in the second quarter, to Deuce for an important three that kind of kept us in the ballpark, kept us an arm's length away. You know, it's not great to be down 11, but it sure beats being down 20, right?
Right.
You know?
Yes.
And so, you know, he kept us in the game till our stars could take over, and then they did. I mean, credit to the Boston fans, national media can say what they want. New York was up 9 when Tatum went down. We were already up 9 with 3 minutes to go. You can't say that it was because Tatum. I don't think, even if Tatum is healthy, I don't think Boston is coming back.
Not knowing what we know about this Knicks team in the fourth quarter, particularly in this series.
Yeah. So, I think you even saw in the fourth quarter with Tatum, as well as he was playing, he had a couple of UFOs, like really bad decisions early in the shot clock takes that backfired on him as well. In a game where he was absolutely brilliant, he had some fourth quarter rows, and I think that it's kind of his tendency to tense up a little bit when the game gets tighter, as opposed to Brunson, who he just eats clutch minutes. He literally. Like it's almost like it has to be his back against the wall. So it's he needs that pressure to bring out the best in him. And man, that was an impressive win by the Knicks. I think it's their best win of the year by far.
Oh, absolutely. And I just want to, talk about Thibodeau a little bit. Just that fourth quarter lineup that we talked about: Brunson, Deuce, Bridges, OG, Mitch, and not feeling, sometimes, he got to grab that Linus blanket, I got to get back. I got to get back to Towns. I got to get back to this person. I got to get back to that person, and just selling out to the game, like selling out to what do we need right now. We talk about this with Brunson. On this possession, what do we need? And same thing with Thibodeau. What do we need right now in terms of a change in scheme, in terms of rotations? What do we need right now? And listen, sometimes you don't know what's going to work, right? But when it is working, rock with it. And that's what he did last night with that, with that lineup. And it was key. It was key for us. So shout out to him. Shout out to him for just this entire series, if you will. Just really, really on point. It was good to see us. I know there were times we still did the little hedge and switch, but for the most part, it seemed like the Knicks were just switching and living, and living with the results, which is my preferred way for them to play, particularly in this series. So shout out to Tom Thibodeau. I know there's a lot of Knicks fan with mixed feelings, like, wow, we 3-1, we go into the Eastern Conference Finals, but damn, Tom Thibodeau is gonna be back next season. So a lot of mixed feelings among some Knicks fans, but listen, it's about getting the job done, and if you can get the job done, you deserve to stay. So shout out to him again. It's not over, right? It's not over. We still have to, get one more. Anything else that stood out, or anyone else that stood out?
Well, it's interesting because a lot of the Knick content that I've read and a lot of the comments on Twitter talked a lot about taking Josh Hart out of the starting lineup and either starting Mitch or anybody else, literally, from our 7-man rotation that we're running, basically. but just to kind of change things up. And we saw a sluggish start again. I mean, it was an 8-0 run by Brunson and Bridges in the first quarter that kind of kept us connected after a abysmal start. And so, there was a lot of call for that. I think a lot of people were disappointed when they saw, oh, he's starting the same five again. That was kind of a sentiment that I saw quite a bit. And I kind of understand, you're up 2-1. Do you really just change your starting lineup? So from that standpoint, I can understand it. But
statistically, though,
if you're data driven like he claims to be, the data says
right
that the starting lineup's not his most effective unit right now. And any change, whether it be McBride or Robinson, is better than the starting unit. So, and I think it's been that way since about January. It's not like it's just in the playoffs or just against Boston. So, moving forward, I don't think it's something he's necessarily going to consider, but I think that starting unit kind of needs a short leash, because it's not as effective, and there's no need. Like, you can't keep digging yourself double-digit holes. I mean, in some ways, we've been very fortunate that we're up 3-1 in this series. Credit to our players for stepping up, and Jaylen Brunson, after a loss, always seems to elevate his play to another level. And he certainly did that again last night. But I want a wire-to-wire win. I want to get let's play 4 good quarters and knock these guys out of the box. Because I honestly think if we play good basketball for 4 quarters, if we dot our I's and cross our T's for 4 quarters, we were going to win the game. And I think we'll win it comfortably, because I think, especially if Tatum's not there. But the other thing is, this Boston team has enough talent to win without Tatum. They are still very dangerous. And we saw what happened in desperation mode in game 3, right? And we're going to see even more desperation mode in game 5, and they're going to be at home. So we've got to be ready to match that right away. Don't dig yourself another hole. And not that we're incapable of coming back. This team has shown anything. You don't give up on this team, because they don't give up on themselves. But just look, I think it's really important for the Knicks to take care of business in game 5, get a little bit of rest, you know what I mean? And then gear up for Indiana, Cleveland, whoever it might be. It looks like it's going to be Indiana, because I think Mitchell is hurt. So, but that would be the ideal. But let's finish this. 3 games doesn't get it. But anybody who said Boston and 6 are better is a liar, because this game is, at very least, it's going 7 games now. That's just how the math works. So, so kudos to the Knicks.
I will say it's going to be really hard to get game 5, even without Tatum. And I think if we do get it, it's going to be a nail biter. I think it's going to be what we do in that 4th quarter. Anything is possible. I don't envision a wire-to-wire win. I don't envision Boston laying down. It's usually when somebody goes down that everybody steps up on the other team. So I'm not saying the Knicks can't win. I'm just saying I think if we do win game 5, it's going to be a crunch time win. I hope I'm wrong. As for the starting lineup, I think, whatever Tibbs decides to do, if he wants to start McBride, if he wants to start Mitchell Robinson, if he does stay with the same starting lineup, then like you said, go with a shorter leash. This is not statistics, though. This is not statistics. I just remember that Atlanta series when I don't think this was data driven, though, when we were calling for Elfrid Payton to come out the starting lineup. He was only playing like 4 minutes in the 4th and 4 minutes in the 3rd, I think, just to keep that second unit intact. And then he made the change, and none of the rest of the games were close at all. Got blown out. I don't think this is the same situation. But for us nervous nannies, we're like, look. Just I know what the stats saying. Just don't change anything. Just have a quick leash. Whatever he does. At the end of the day, you do want to put your team in the best position to win. And if that's what puts us in the best position to win, then let's do it. Let's do it. So let's see what happens. The Knicks took 92 shots last night to Boston 79. That was probably the first time in a long time that we've won the volume, that probably in this series that we've shot more than them. Of their 79 shots, 48 of them were 3-pointers, actually. And living on the perimeter for those, this is my Aj segment, who just has a disdain for the officials. They lived on the perimeter, right? 48 3-point shots and went to the line 26 times. The Knicks were feasting in the paint, 64 paint points, and they didn't shoot 100%. So they went into the paint even more than that, only 12 free throws. So I don't know what that's about, but
and here's the thing, the numbers say that, but also like the contact on one end was a foul, and then Brunson's receiving even worse treatment on the other end. And it's just like, oh, nothing to see here, and I saw that several times. And Brunson actually shot more free throws than anybody. But
right,
I think other than him, I think the Knicks got a grand total of 3 or something like that. It's like, so, but again, the Knicks have to expect that. And they did. And they didn't. For once, they didn't go crazy and let it affect. They just were like, no, we're locked in. Trust our process, trust our players, make plays, and don't worry about it. And lo and behold, they were rewarded for that, because down the stretch they made big shot after big shot after big shot. Just a clinic, really, and hopefully a blueprint of how we can finish these guys off. You know what I mean? Right. Hopefully there's something in there that maybe we tapped into something, because we were shooting awfully from the field in the first 3 games. Even the games we won, our field goal percentage wasn't that good. We weren't that great from 3 last night, but we shot better than 50% from the field.
We did.
And, it not only Thuney was it 15-4 at the half for free throws, but our 4 were in the final minute and a half of the first quarter, or the second quarter. It was shot. Brunson shot ours in the last minute and a half of the half, like literally. So that's how bad that was. But
and Aj texts me and be like, "Oh, look at them trying to, make up the difference at the end, so everybody could say, oh, that it was even."
But it seems to me that, and Josh Hart is a phenomenal rebounder, but it seems to me that the combination of Robinson and Towns protects the glass, both ends, much better than Hart and Towns, or Hart and Mitch. And so I think that was one of the reasons why we saw what we saw last night. And Hart only played 30 minutes, and I know he was in foul trouble. And it seems like that's usually the way that Thibodeau is forced to make the change that everybody's calling for, is the player that we don't want to see gets in foul trouble. And then, and then it works. And then like, see, Tibbs, you're a moron. What's wrong with you? But jokes aside, I think I'm curious to see if that is a legitimate way to go to close out this series, with just 30 minutes of just those 2 big guys just crushing it on the glass.
Yeah, we shall see. Shout out to the art man formerly known as Steve. Good morning. What did I tell y'all? Refs tried to cook us in the first half with no free throws. Cat getting beat up, but like I said, stay within at least 5 of Boston makes. I believe this is 3-point makes. And we will win. Yeah. You've been right. You've been on point. You've been on point with that.
Great analysis, Steve. You were on it for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't even know they took, and they only made 8. To me, it seemed like they were knocking down every 3-pointer they shot. Well, I said 18 for 48. That's all.
Well, they were 9 of 14. That's what you're remembering in the first half. They were absolutely lights out. But, you know, and I think they were 11 of 22 at the half. But then in the second half, you know, they cooled off. But that's what they do. I mean, 48 attempts is right at their average. Like that's what they average for the season. So
for the season.
Correct. So that's their bad. I don't know what their season percentage was, but I probably around what they shot, to be honest with you. So that's what you expect. You know, whether they come early or whether they come late, it doesn't matter. It's what the numbers say. That I mean, if they're going to go 20 for 40, we're not going to win. But you know, if they're going to shoot 38 or 35, 36%, I think, you know, we've got a really good shot. And who knows, maybe we'll get a game where we shoot 20 for 40 from three. We have a lot of capable three-point shooters who haven't really lived up to that billing. Outside of Brunson's been phenomenal, but does Towns have more than one make from outside this series? And he's a 40% shooter on usually high volume, not last night. So, you know, hopefully we see some of that progression toward the mean for us too. And last night we did it on the inside, and maybe that's the way you beat this team, is you just punish them and hope you get up enough twos to neutralize their threes. And that's what we did. I mean, literally, that's what we did.
Correct. That is correct. One game away for the Eastern Conference Finals. You know, the last time we were there was 25 years ago. You know, it's tough to come back from 3-1, not impossible. I think I have it here, Denver was the last team to come back from a 3-1 deficit in 2020. So it is possible, but with this Knicks team, I don't think it's probable. We shall see. This is why you play the games, right? I'm gonna just shout out the chat for a little bit, and then last words, and we're out of here, I should say. Tony Starks, I never expected the Knicks to do this. In my opinion, overachievers. Yeah, I don't know. Like, are the Knicks playing over their head, or are the Knicks finally reaching their ceiling? I mean, climbing more toward their ceiling. I don't even think they've reached their ceiling as a team. I tend to think that they're coming into their own. I think the talent was always there, you know. And then you got Mitchell Robinson back. Now you have your full complement of players. So I think it's more about the Knicks coming into their own, and peaking at the right time, more so than being overachieving. That's just my opinion. Jeff, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that's kind of the right take, Queen. I think that, again, this is what this team was put together to do. Right? Like, we can say what we want to, but like, they're the champs, right? You're designing a roster to beat the champs, and we got a chance to finally be here and test that, and that's what we needed. This win or lose, we needed to see how we stacked up against this group. And let's be honest, this is the best team that the Celtics have faced in the playoffs in the last 2 years. They didn't play a third seed or better in last year's playoffs at all. No disrespect to Cleveland, no disrespect to Dallas. They both had good seasons, but it just fell right for them that they didn't have to. They were heavy favorites in every series they played. They played phenomenal. They were net rating one of the best teams to ever do it. But now they've got, you know, they've been fighting tomato cans for a long time. Now you got a boxer in the ring, right?
Right.
You know, he may be beat up. He may not have the great record like Rocky Balboa in the original Rocky against Apollo Creed when they fought to a draw. But, you know, you're in that arena with someone who can take a punch. All of a sudden, maybe it's a little bit different. And now, you know, they're going to be challenged even further, because I would be shocked if Tatum played game 5, much less. I mean, the MRI will tell the story, but that, you know, and I know the Knicks like break your leg and you come back and you play next time anyway. But I, you know, they've got to win 3 in a row against this team, and it's possible, but it's not going to be easy. And look, this is what we came for. This is why we're here. close it out. Like, don't leave any doubt. This team has not been good about that. We tend to let up sometimes, but now's not the time for that. Have that killer instinct. The blood is in the water. Be the shark. Tear them to pieces and move on to the next. Because if you get out of this series, it's still a big if. I think you're the best team left out there, not named Oklahoma City.
Yeah, facts. Shout out again to the art man formerly known as Steve. We appreciate you always supporting the channel. Knicks kept contesting and lived with the results. Once the adrenaline wore off from 3, but we kept defending. They came back to earth. One more game. I
think we just need to add Steve to the panel at this point.
Yeah. Definitely. Shout out to Corey Lee. Thune got it. East Blue Drew, appreciate you. Walter White, Kevin Bergen, Jarrell in the building, Dope Soul family. I appreciate you as well. Mellow, what's that? Mellow S. He said the Celtics played a bunch of injured team last year, the weakest finals run. I mean, I hear you. They did take advantage of it, but you're right. JJ, appreciate you. Wonder Woman was in the house. Renee Lombardi, I hope I got that right. Andrew K, looking at the big picture. He said 9 more wins to go. Forget 1. 9 more wins to go. I appreciate you.
I love that attitude, Andrew.
Yeah.
Sure. I love that. Keep that energy. Shoot that directly into my veins, man. I need some of that. That's great.
Yeah. Wayne Peterson, Space Ghost. I appreciate you. Kerry Cox in the house. Appreciate you. And the replay gang and the silent listeners, right? Who don't comment on the replay or comment in the chat. You don't go unnoticed. We appreciate you as well. Those on X who can't comment. I don't believe you can comment if you're listening on X. I'm not sure about that, but we appreciate you as well. Last words, Jeff?
What a night. Just a fantastic second half. Just phenomenal. And it's funny because I was at a graduation for my nephew. And so I missed the entire first half. I was following it on my phone, but I didn't get to watch any of it in the first half. And then I finally got home and it was 83-81. And then the Knicks just took it from there. So it was a crazy night. It was a great night. And it is an awesome time to be a Knicks fan, guys. Let's enjoy it and enjoy this one for today. And then tomorrow, let's put the baby to bed.
Yeah, for sure. Shout out to Jason Benjamin. Appreciate the super chat. Appreciate you rocking with us this early in the morning. People forget we are the best and healthiest team the Celtics have played on the last 2 years in the playoffs. Celtics were shooting well, and we still won, particularly in that first half, and particularly Jason Tatum. I was like, anytime we would get like a little traction, here he come with a huge 3.
You got another one.
Jason Benjamin, appreciate you. We have a tough and resilient team. I'm so proud. That's probably something we don't talk about enough. Just the resiliency of the team and just never giving up. Always a chance. I mean, it takes a lot, to come back from 2 20-point leads, deficits, excuse me.
And a 14-point in game 3. That's pretty close to 20.
Right. Exactly. Just amazing, resilient team. I would have been okay. I didn't think it was. Shout out to Coach. Appreciate you joining us. I never thought it was Eastern Conference Finals or bust for this team, or that this would be a failure if we didn't go to the Eastern Conference Finals. But it's just nice to know that we're on the precipice of actually doing it. And it's just, they're just growing up before my eyes. They're just growing up before my eyes. And it's just really good to see.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah. Anyway, we will be back Thursday morning, right, Jeff?
Yeah.
After the Wednesday game. So hit those notifications, put it in your Google or Apple calendars, 8 a.m. Thursday morning. Win or lose.
Hopefully with a gentleman sweep in our back pocket. Hopefully.
Yeah, that would be awesome. That would be awesome. Anyway, until next time, family, appreciate you.
Sister, you're one of a kind.
Yes.
Oh, sister, it's time you
That's
shine. Dope Soul.
Where you at?
Dope Soul.